disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there
This is my
dealing with
house.
any types of disabilities or any type of learning disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove to people you can still amount to something no matter what. It's a
Yeah.
half hour, 45 minutes of your time, and starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Um, no, nothing much really changed. I mean, I didn't really know that many people in school, so I was kind of, not a loner. Hold on one second. Is he okay? Okay. Um, no, been married for 6 years now. I have 3 children. Currently an HVAC technician working in Monroe. I'm still living local. Not for much longer, hopefully. Um, and I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm just a simple, straightforward, shoot my mouth type of person. So, and getting to what you said about showing the world what you can do with your disability, I can kind of relate to that because my 8-year-old nephew is autistic, and he struggles with learning disabilities. My oldest niece, she has 28 doctors.
21 doctors.
21 doctors that she's currently going to for a multiple variety of things. So it's not easy in the world nowadays, and to see somebody, you know, not making the best of it, but doing 110%, and not, you see a lot of people sit back and they take the easy train throughout life, and it's good to see that you're pushing through to say, hey, I'm different. This is what I can do. Don't treat me like this. So it's good to see that. You don't see it a lot anymore nowadays.
People say, "Oh, you can't say this, you can't do that, or you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that." But you know what? I'm like, what's his name? I'm like Trump. I'm like Reagan. I just go for the truth. I go for the go straight for it, like George Carlin. I go straight for it, and I have no filter. I just tell you how it is, and that's what we
uh,
should have.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you have to have that kind of outlook on life. I'm the same way. I'm just a straight shooter. This is me. If you don't like me, there's the door. I don't need you in my life if you think that, I'm different. There's no need to treat people like that. And I for one can't stand it. I was a New York State EMT for 3 years, so you see a lot of things that you want to forget. But like I said, you see a lot of people too that they feel that they're stuck, and this is them, and that's all there is to it. So it's a shame, but it's like I said, it's good to see that you're doing more. You're showing I'm completely different. There's no difference between me and you. So, and I have that same outlook in a different perspective of like I said, I didn't really know a lot of people in school. I kept to myself. I actually dropped out when I was 16, but I got my GED, and I'd been working since I'm 12 years old. I'd walk around town. I knew a lot of people in town, so just doing small things that a normal kid would do. But just a different aspect on the way things are. Like I said, I'm 27, and I can sit down and have a conversation, and people just turn around and you speak with the mindset of somebody in their late 50s. I'm a very simple person. I hate the way the world's going. I don't care too much for modern technology. I think it's all a load of crap. It's tearing people apart. I mean, so when we were growing up, you know, you did something wrong, you got, a punishment for it. You wanted to play, you went outside and you played with your friends. You didn't sit inside. And I can't stand it. I just hate it.
But you bring up a good subject to technology. I'm going to bring that up in a little bit. But the first question I was going to ask you, did you enjoy high school and college? And do you have any funny stories that you like to share? And that's number one. And number two, do you remember... Actually, those are two questions in one. I was going to say, let's do high school first. Was there any teasers that you liked? Any hot teasers that you really liked? Uh, what can you tell us about your high school experience?
It wasn't a good one. I mean, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would in a heartbeat. Um, my parents separated when I was 8 years old. Um, my father actually just recently passed away. Um, and I can count on two hands in the last decade how many times I saw him, and not having your father there. It's I mean my mother did a phenomenal job for being a single parent, but it wasn't whole, so it really affected the way I grew up. I was fortunate enough; my uncle stepped in, and he filled the shoes um, of my father. I grew up with him. I'm fortunate he's still around. But I wasn't a people person because of it. When my father left, that was pretty much it. He just walked out of our lives. And it played a lot because we were very active in each other's lives up until then. So to have that just ripped away, it just really took away from my social skills, I guess you could say. So I had a very select few people that I actually talked to and hung out with in high school. And I actually don't speak to any of them anymore because of issues that happened late high school, towards the end of high school. Um, I don't really have any regrets about that. But I just, going back, thinking about it, dropping out. I did get my GED, as I said, but yeah, I see the way the world is now, and I just wish I would have, pushed through, overcome, and just had the mindset that I have now back then, and just completed it. You asked about funny stories. I mean, there's a whole bunch. I remember, the food fight, all the things like that. There was a couple more serious things, but the only thing that really comes to mind was I can remember one day one of the kids I used to hang out with, Mike Pellick. He went up to one of the other kids that we knew, and just for the hell of it, just pulled his pants and underwears down right in front of the entryway to the high school. So he actually wound up getting 5 days OSS for that. But I mean, you remember walking into high school? I mean, it was just noisy. You could hear a pin drop when he was standing there. So it's I know it's harsh, but to me back then, the mindset of a late teen. So something like that, like, oh, that's funny as hell. So
No problem. You bring up a good subject about the food fight. Do you remember where you were and how that all started?
I remember it happening. I more so remember the aftermath than leading up to it. I would hope that everyone now would look back and think, wow, we screwed up. That was a bad idea. But I also know that, unfortunately, a lot of people, and it kind of started with our generation, and now it's working its way up because of the way kids are being brought up. Um, it doesn't bother them. They look back and they still laugh as hard now as they did then, with no regret, no remorse. And like I said, I mean, it was, back then it was funny as hell. It's still funny, but now you think about it in the mindset of an adult,
Yeah.
and you would hope that it would trigger something like, what was I thinking back then? But unfortunately, I mean, I know a lot of people that I see that I know, I went to high school with, and they're nowhere in life. I don't know if you remember Andrew Wolpart. I was actually in Boy Scouts with him. He still lives down the road from me. Liberal arts. I mean, what can you do with that nowadays?
Right.
There's nothing. And I feel fortunate. I got my GED, and I've been with the company I'm with now going on 4 years next month. Um, and for what I'm doing for a living, and how fast I pick up on it, and the responsibilities involved, I don't think the amount of work that's actually involved. If somebody was offered the job that I have for the pay that I have, they would just turn it down because they can't sit there and do nothing and just collect the money. So I know it's a little off subject to the initial question, but no, that's that.
Yeah, this is your time after all. You say whatever you want. In a couple minutes, I'm going to pass the show over to you. But the next two questions, are actually three questions, I'm going to ask you is, did you ever do any sports? And what teachers were your favorite? And that made a difference in your life? And what teachers that you just wanted to punch upside the head?
Well, to the last part of that question, I would say every one of them. They had their good days, had their bad days. But back when you're a teenager or a young adult, even going down to grade school, if a teacher is harsh on you, it sticks with you more than the better that they do.
Right.
So, I mean, from high school, not not that many teachers really stick out. Like I said, I kind of just skated through until I dropped out. So, I mean, I honestly don't remember any of the high school teachers that I had. I remember some of the high school teachers. I didn't have any of them. So as to that, I can't say. But I think one teacher going back to middle school that stuck out. I don't know if anybody remembers having him. Was Mr. Dudzik. Even back then, for my age, had the same taste in music. If we were taking tests or we were done early for the day, he put on Crosby, Stills and Nash or Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and nowadays, you ask 22-year-old, hey, do you know who this is? And they just, well, it's not Katy Perry. I have no idea. I can't stand music nowadays. But I remember I screwed up big time in class one day, and the way he handled it, nowadays just with the mindset of people, somebody does something small and it explodes. The way he handled this, it was a complete 180 from how he should have handled it. So it was a bad experience in a really good way, and that kind of got me pushed, but just didn't stick with that experience. A couple things happened, and just tumbled downhill. So
Yeah, no problem. I understand. I give you now for answer the question on my part. A couple of teachers that made a difference in my life, I would say, out of all of them, I would say Mr. Earl from the audio visual department.
okay, hold on 1 second. My daughter's coming down. Hey, what's wrong, sweetie?
I want to play the basketball.
Go see if Nana can, or is Mommy coming down?
Mommy's doing that.
Okay, well go get dressed, okay, sweetie?
I'm
Go.
cool.
Hey, go turn your light on. Sorry.
No problem.
So one of the.
Who's that? Who is it?
His name's Keith. So the one downside to having 3 children, you have no private time. So I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, it's life. Anything can happen. But one teacher that made a difference in my life, I would say its name is Mr. Earl from the audiovisual department. And it's because of Mr. Earl and my dad that I got into the whole iMovie and making videos. And Mr. Earl was nice enough to teach me how to do the lights and sound. He let me basically run around with the camera to the point it's like, oh, Jesus, is Keith? Does he have the Yes, he does. He does have the camera or something. Till I got to to the point where they got sick of me because if they say it's Keith around, it's like, yeah, he has that camera again. Or what I want to do is that camera. But I mean, he really influenced me more to do what I'm doing now, and I'm very thankful.
That's good.
Two teachers that I hated, and I would like to just whack upside the heads
Gotta be quiet.
was the history teacher. I won't mention his name, but he's a special education teacher.
I I could say the one teacher that sticks out. I never had her. I've heard of her. I've met her. Mrs. Black.
Heard of her?
I can't. She, for some reason, she wanted everyone to call her Mother Black,
Yeah.
and it's just one of those things when you meet somebody, somebody tells you how bad of a person they are, but until you actually see it, and then it's 10 times worse. So, but sorry to interrupt you there.
No problem. My history teacher. I won't mention his name, but he's a butt. And your kid's behind you too. That's why I said butt.
So,
But basically, he found out from a couple of teachers in the school where I worked, and so he came into my store at the time. He said, "Hey, I didn't know you worked here. Let's see if you're capable of helping me find a jacket. You know what? Better yet, I know you're incompetent. What hurt? How I was standing next to my friend at the time. What hurt helped me because she seems more confident to doing your job for you. And what are you doing here? I'm surprised I hired someone like you." That was number one.
I would have been fired because I would have gone off and I would have decked him. I can't, even if it wasn't me, to see somebody just belittle somebody like that, it's unnecessary. I hate people who have a complex where they have to make themselves feel better by treating others like crap.
No, absolutely.
It's a shame. I'm sure he sleeps fine at night, but I just have a different outlook on it, a different mindset, and I even in the same instance, if coming from his perspective, if I went to a store, and I mean even local, there are handicapped people that are employed, which they need to make a living too.
Right.
But and one thing that's in particular that sticks out is there's a handicapped kid with Down syndrome that works at ShopRite.
Right.
And he's either bagging groceries or he goes outside and he's bringing in the carts. Hold on, sweetie. And one of the other employees, they were just belittling him. I mean, if it was a physical assault, he would have just been down on the ground, done. That's how bad it was. And then they said, okay, you effing retard, just go get the carts all the way down at the end of the parking lot. And it was just a click, and I went off on him. I went inside and got the manager, and it's just there's no need for that. There really isn't.
No, absolutely.
I'm gonna bring it back in.
Okay, now the other one was I won't mention his name, but he did work at Rosemary's, and the guy was an a-hole then, and all through school. He never, I'm 27. I went to Rosemary's when I was I was 5 years old. I knew him since I was 5. He never changed, and he always purposely starts up with me. And when there were times where we seemed to be getting along, he would purposely instigate. I give you a perfect example. One of my favorite gym teachers was Mr. Simonson.
Yep, I remember him.
And I used to give him a hard time. He used to call me Slick. So this guy would say, when you see Mr. Simonson, call him Bobby. As far as his name is Mr. Simonson, no, call him Bobby. He will think it's funny. So I'm like, hey, Bobby, what's up? He said, get the hell out of my office. And I was like, well, he just told me to do it because he thought it would be funny. I don't know what you're talking about, Slick. I never told you to do that. You hear what he's saying? It's like, I wanted to sort of strangle that guy because for 20 years, he always talked about me, He always told me he was obsessed with my family, always making rumors, always
I'm doing something.
was always
I'm watching TV now.
lies.
I'm doing something.
And it's basically it's like if you basically obsessed with me and my talking about my brothers or what they're doing this or doing with that or any facet of my family, you really are asking for karma to come back to you.
That's the one thing. Even though I'm not religious, I have a that's another one of my pet peeves. I have a big problem with religion nowadays. I am a firm believer in karma. If you test it, it will come back and bite you in the ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Now going to your college years, then I'm gonna pass the show over to you. What did you major in? And were you a study nerd or party animal?
Unfortunately, I never went to college. Again, I've thought about going back. A couple things have come up. I was actually looking into when I was 19 into DeVry because I was really big into computers back then. Autumn, you need to stop, sweetie. Um, and I was going to major in computer engineering technology, and the course that I was looking at was actually a 2 year course, and I mean it was a crash course, the entire 2 years for a bachelor's. Um, and unfortunately, I was talking with my grandfather because he was going to sign everything, and we had worked out an agreement for payment. And my grandfather and my father were the same in the fact of family means nothing to them. All they care about is the bottom dollar. Money is their family. And right when it came down, my counselor called me and he's like, hey, we're waiting on the paperwork from your grandfather. And I called him up and he's like, I'm thinking it over, and my son screwed me. He went to college, never paid me back, and you're his blood, so this is looking like a bad investment. So I mean that just left a really, really bad taste in my mouth. I've been thinking about going back, and I'd like to continue looking into computers, but I mean nowadays even with a college degree, I mean what's out there right now? You have with everything that's going on in the country in particular. There's unless you're fortunate enough to know somebody who knows somebody in a place, it's hard to get in anywhere. Hold on a second. So like I said, I'm an HVAC technician by trade, and I'll probably stick with that. But I'd like to do bigger and better. But we'll just have to see how it goes. Even though I didn't go to college, I did party a lot. Did a lot of stupid things. I remember one night. I don't remember how we got there, but I wound up in the hospital with a friend of mine because apparently he got really, really, really drunk, and somebody had to call the ambulance because he passed out and just started spewing and nasty things. And apparently, I was conscious but not there, and nobody else volunteered to go to the hospital with him, so they just threw me in the back, and next thing you know, I woke up in Cornwall ER at 7 in the morning. So that's probably the worst party experience. I've had others that are similar, but not as bad. Here, I'll put it on when I'm done. So now, married, 3 kids, working 40 to 50 hours a week. I'm lucky if I have time to come home and drink a cup of water some nights.
They're mine for school.
So, but I wouldn't change that either.
Two of them.
Hey, can you guys be quiet? If it wasn't for meeting my wife when I did, and us having children, there was a period where I was, addicted to prescription painkillers and doing some other stupid things. Nothing heavy like heroin, coke, or anything like that. But other things. If I didn't meet her when I did, I honestly think that I'd be dead right now. So that was the life altering experience that finally got my head straight and said, I need to wake up and actually do something. So that was fortunate. So
Can you help me do it?
yes, I will hope you do it. Can you go upstairs for a few minutes? Go upstairs, Mommy. Sorry, I know it's a little annoying, but
No, it's fine. Like I said, it's live. It's uncensored. Anything can happen. Don't worry about it. So I'm gonna pass the show. I'm gonna pass the show over to you now. Wrapping up. You can ask me anything you want. Say anything you want. And this is your time, after all.
I know you touched into experiences of when you were working, when somebody you knew came in and belittled you and degraded you. Did you ever have any problems when you were actually looking for a job? Any issues with with a manager looking and say and I say this not in a bad way, but just in the frame that somebody might look at it, what is this retard doing in coming here? He's not good enough for this. He can't do simple things. I mean, did you ever have any experiences like that? Come close to anything like that, or were you fortunate enough to where they were able to see you as the person you are?
I would say I won't mention the store, but it is in the comments. But I can tell you the name of the place afterwards. But basically, the guy hired me knowing that I had a learning disability. Oh, we don't discriminate, no problem. And we went to the warehouse one day, and there was this
Go. Yeah, it's a madhouse sometimes.
there was this dolly thing that I really liked. It had two hands. It's like a cart, so it's easy to remove. It's like you hold it like this, and it's long in front.
Okay.
It's easy. And he said, no, don't use that. Use the upper dollies, the one with the wide handle, so you're holding it like this.
Okay.
Instead of this. If that makes any sense. So I was using the bigger one. And I knocked the boxes over by accident because I wanted to turn it, and the thing wasn't turning. So the boxes...
Go upstairs and close the door, please.
So the boxes fell over.
Go upstairs
and
and close the door.
While I was trying to put the boxes back on...
Go upstairs and close the door. Sorry, I like I said, I apologize. It's just, it's hard.
No, that's fine. Don't worry about it. So basically, I was in the warehouse, and when I made the turn, the boxes fell over. And the guys were like, Jesus Christ, why did I even take someone like you? You can't even use a frickin' dolly. Why did I hire someone like you? And what pissed me off was every day when I did something wrong, and I'm being sarcastic on this, it's my favorite quote, but I'm being sarcastic, was, we don't know how to...
Autumn, stop.
Can everybody clean that?
Go play. Picked a bad time to do this. I apologize.
Not a problem. My favorite quote was, we don't know how to deal with people like you. And they said that, and it's like, why did we hire people like you? Every time I did something wrong, I was like...
Yeah, but that's something, I mean, in that story, I mean, anybody could hit something and knock it over.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done it at work before. I had an incident at my job where I was pumping out an oil tank, and the hose fell out, and I didn't notice it, and I actually wound up pumping about 75 gallons of oil in the backyard of our lot. And my manager came out and he's just like, and that was the extent of it. He's like, all right, clean it up. So it's I don't know. It sucks to hear things like that. So I mean, everybody's different, but everyone's still a person. There's no difference between me, you, my wife, my neighbor across the street. I hate the mindset of people nowadays. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, wrapping up, one subject I do want to touch on, and you brought it up, is the technology. And how do you feel personally with technology? Now, I use your kids for a perfect example, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Now, with that being said, are you gonna treat them the same way as as me and you were growing up? Say, go outside, spend time with your family, do what normal kids do? Or are you like, here's an iPhone, here's an iPad, go make time
I
with it?
I am raising my kids in the way I was raised. Go outside and play. Ride your bike. Ride a scooter. Go play in the dirt. There's nothing wrong with a child getting dirty nowadays. You're going to take a bath at the end of the day, anyways. Um, I can't stand it. I mean, I'm not going to say that they don't touch anything. I mean, my daughter can probably operate an iPhone better than me. I am hands down a PC and Android. I hate Apple with a passion. Always have, always will. I've never owned anything Apple. And unless it's given to me, and even then I'd probably try and return it, I wouldn't have it in my house for me. Um, um, I don't like how it pushes people apart nowadays. Um, like with what you said, you see a lot of people, okay, well, here's a phone or a tablet, just go ahead and have fun. My sister does that with her kids, and I can't stand it. Whenever they're over here, you give them, something to do outside, and they just look at you and tilt your head, like, all of a sudden you burst into flames. And it's a shame. I mean, nowadays, I mean, if you were on a train or taking a bus ride somewhere, you'd sit there and you'd talk to the person next to you. You'd strike up a conversation. You'd get to know the person. And I mean, all you see nowadays is somebody sitting there on their phone or sitting there on this big portable tablet and doing this and doing that. And you see, they specifically promote phones towards kids nowadays. Oh, it's designed for their safety. Like, she's 6 years old. If she's doing anything unsafe, I would hope the parent is right there, one, and I hope it wouldn't be happening because they should be taught to know better. And you see how dumb kids are nowadays, and you see, the teenagers nowadays. My one cousin, I'm mentioning any names, is a perfect example of that. And it's disgusting. I mean, it's not even something that I can bat an eye at because I mean, you can see definitively how technology has changed for the good, but it's changed people for the worst, I think. You can't function without it nowadays, unfortunately. And I would say 95% of the people that I know, if the power goes out or the cell service drops, I mean, it's like, holy crap, an atomic bomb just went off. What do I do? Running around, screaming. And those are adults. So, I mean, I have, obviously everyone has a lot of technology. For me, it's more on the side of audio equipment. I love music, and I love hearing it clear and the way it's meant to be heard.
Mommy said we're not going to watch it.
I will put it on. um, Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore because we got flooded out with Irene 4 years ago. But it took me several years, and if you added everything up, it's about 11 grand. Just for the sound system I had in my bedroom for music. I have something similar to it, just not as pristine as it was. Perfect example. Me and my wife were in the store earlier, and I was listening to remakes of songs, and I just looked at the employee. I'm like, "F you, F this place, do it." One, it sounded like crap. Two, it sounded like crap because it was crap. So, yeah, a little off the beaten path, but I mean, technology-wise, like I said, I'm more in the audio, video than personal electronics, I guess you could say. I have a laptop, obviously, but I don't have a tablet. I don't have the newest and greatest phone because it does what I need it to do, and I yell at my kids if I see them on my phone because I don't want them to fall in that path of, okay, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing, not communicate, not run around, not get in trouble, because that's what kids should be doing. If you don't hear footsteps, you know something's wrong. Nowadays, you don't hear footsteps. It's because they're sitting on the couch playing on a phone or a tablet, and like I said, I hate it. I hate the way this world is going. I hate the way off topic, with kids. I mean, I know a bunch of people that I went to school with do have kids, but they don't raise them like we were raised. They do something wrong, and just don't do that again. I can't tell you how many times I'm in the store, and one of my daughters is like, "Oh, I want this," and they're told no, and they just break down, hissy fit crying. So I'll smack your butt, and the looks you get for being a parent nowadays is disgusting. On the EMS side, it's really disgusting that nowadays a child can go to their guidance counselor in school. Oh, my dad said he's going to beat my butt, and they call and report you for child abuse.
Yeah.
Kids need to be disciplined. I mean, I'm not saying beat your kid, do this, do that, throw them outside at 2 a.m, but without stern parenting, I guess you could call it. I honestly think that this current generation growing up is screwed for life. And the fact that one day they're going to be running things makes me glad that hopefully I won't be around to see it. Because it's going to be a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
So, I could sit here and talk about politics and all this for days. So, but
let him go.
Not going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners? Are you on social media at all?
I don't do Twitter and Instagram and all that crap. I think it's just one more thing to, be controlled by. I had Facebook for years now. If you don't have Facebook, you're looked at funny. So, hold on. I don't know if I'd really, say anything directly. I don't know. I'd like to. It'd be nice to meet, get, in touch, with people from, school days. Just reconnect, see where they're at, see what their stances on things are, how their lives are going, and just take it from there. Try and, like with this, try and, make new friends and just, have people there that you can talk to. That's like it's another thing nowadays with technology. You have a problem. Oh, you can call this number. Or like, oh, you're sick. Oh, I'm gonna go on WebMD. So it's it's just odd nowadays. So, but no, I mean, I guess to wrap it up, like I said, I know, a lot of people on here, and everyone you're interviewing is people we went to school with. Like I said, I know I don't know a lot of you. I didn't really care to be involved in the social scene. But if you knew who I was or anything, just feel free to hit me up one day. Maybe you'll make a friendship out of it.
Did you get the batteries for this?
No.
Oh.